So today, basically, we're talking about effects chains and things like that, but before we get started with that, I just want to show you a couple of little things here with this beat that I made the other day. And it does get into effects chains a little bit, so we're going to be talking about it with this, but I do want to talk about it with like vocals and stuff like that too, because people often ask me like, what's the effects chain that you use for vocals? And so we're going to be talking about that today. So and you might be wondering like, wait, what does he mean by effects chain? The signal flow, the effects chain signal flow. And that's very important. You know, what order you have the effects in really makes a big difference in how the things sound. Now, this is something that took me really a while to understand, because depending on what effects you're using, the order may or may not sound like it makes much of a change. So if you're using EQs and compression and stuff like that, depending on how you're using those EQs and compressors, it might make a big difference or not such a big difference. So it's something really to think about quite a lot with stuff, and to really understand how this stuff actually works. So let's go over here, and I'm going to hit play on this. And what we're doing right now, what I want to do right now is I want to add in, let's see, a Tamelia. Cool. I want to add in a little reverb if the dog doesn't eat my cables. I want to add in some reverb into this hand clap here. So I made an aux channel over here. It's called snare drum reverb. And I got my hand claps right over here. So I'm going to send over here from this one to my snare drum reverb. So I'm just going to go here, click on the send A through E right here. Oops, let me turn on this thing. There we go. And click on this, and we're going to go to output. We're going to go to track. The track I just made. I'm going to send it that snare drum reverb right there. Boom. Do that. And when I do that, it's going to open up my send level here. Turn that up. Let me put a reverb on this snare drum here, and we'll just use a before I was messing around with the Valhalla reverbs, but today I'm going to just keep it into the stuff that comes with Pro Tools. So we'll go with this Deverb here, and I'm going to use a small one here. Small, and make sure the effect amount is 100% wet. Awesome. Give a little pre-delay on there. Now, that's a lot of reverb. I'm going to turn it down here. What I'm doing is I'm turning down the send amount that's going to that reverb. So the amount that drum is sending to the reverb, I'm turning that down. Now I also wanted to come from my snare drum over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold down Option and drag it over. There we go. Now, in case you're wondering if you've been using the Audient, these send amounts here are the same as your aux sends on the Audient. So the Audient has aux sends, it's got 12 of them. And if I go over here and I look and I go to Edit Window Views, wait, no, I go to Expanded Sends. I can click on Send A here, which is what we've got. And right there we can see my amount right there that I'm sending over. So if I want to send more of the clap over, less of the clap. Cool. And then this level over here, basically people like the reverb, huh? So over here, this snare drum reverb here, this is my return. This is like my stereo return. So if I want to hear less reverb overall, there we go. Y'all are hilarious. All right, so anyway, we got this going on here. I'm gonna go back over there. Good girl. Yeah. There we go. Puppy's gonna lie down. And then I'm gonna take her over to the kennel here in a bit, so she's in her cage. Anyway, I'm glad you guys like it, whether it sounds like a 99 Lil Wayne beat or whatever. As long as y'all are digging it and we can deal with listening to it for a little while. All right, so let's go over here. We got this reverb on here. Sounds good. I'm digging it. So let's go take a look at our notes real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the effect chain signal flow here. What's up, Swift? You're back. Cool. So in an effect chain, the sound of each individual effect changes the signal, then outputs the affected signal, then the next effect changes that signal, and so on. So for example, if I have a group of effects, like we can see here on my my bass sound here. So here we're starting off with the noisemaker synth, and then it goes into a compressor, and then we've got Decapitator, which is like a kind of an amp thing, and then I got a filter on it, and then we got a sidechain compression here. Well, what happens is the sound, this first one here is making the sound. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to solo this out. I'm going to bypass all of these here, and bypassing as I'm holding down Command and I click it. And this is what it sounds like initially. That's my bass sound that we're starting with. Now, the different order of these, if I turn on different ones of these, you're going to hear what it sounds like. Here, I'll just turn this one on first. This one is giving us some sustain. All right, let's turn that off. That gives it some weight. So it's like heavier and deeper, right? That's taken off some of the high frequencies. And that's side chaining the kick drum. You can hear how it's side chaining it, right? So each one of these by itself is gonna sound like whatever, but once we put them all together, we're gonna start hearing how they sound in a row. So first of all, we're going to get some sustain out of it with this BF76. And you can see it's compressing it quite a bit, which is actually also getting rid of a little bit of that low end there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my Decapitator. That Decapitator is Sound Toys. And remember, they're running a sale right now, which is dope. And this here is really giving us a nice weight to it. We don't have any low cut. We could cut out the low end, but I don't want to cut that out. Like just a nice weight to it. Give it a little bit of distortion, a little fuzziness. Then I want to shave off the high frequencies. So turn on my filter, and that's just it's got a low pass here, and it's just letting the high end come through. I can shape that a little bit more. Less. Let's actually put a low pass 18 on it so it doesn't have as steep of a cut. And now we want to get out of the way of that kick drum, right? And that's what it ends up sounding like. So let's do this. Let's see what happens if we actually change the order of these and just see. I don't think it's actually going to make a huge difference in the sound of this one, just because of what effects we're using and how we're using them. But let's see what happens. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to actually show my inserts F through J. I'm going to move this one down here all the way to the bottom. I'm also going to stop looking at my expanded sends. There we go. Okay. So I move my, so now what we've got here is it goes from top to bottom, from here to here. So in Pro Tools, you can have 10 effects on a track, and if you needed to add more, you could. But so what we're going to do here is we're going to take this vintage filter, and let's just move this one down here. I haven't changed the order yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the vintage filter first. Let's hear what that does to it. Yeah, you can hear it. Actually, it's a pretty big difference in the sound. So here's what it sounds like with the vintage filter last, and here's what it sounds like with the vintage filter first. Hear that difference? Now, it's not like the difference between iced tea and Dr. Pepper, where one is like mildly sweet and the other one's like got carbonation, it's bitter and it's hitting your face. It's like the difference between Coke and New Coke. If you're into it, it's a big difference. If you're not into it, it's not that big of a difference. If you can hear this, that's a big difference to me. And the reason why this is happening is because this Decapitator is adding some harmonic frequencies into the sound. The Decapitator is essentially it's like an amplification kind of saturation plugin. And it's adding harmonics into it, saturating the sound, adding harmonics into it. So if we put the filter here first, let's just hear what the filter sounds like by itself. That's what it sounds like with no filter. There's what it sounds like with the filter on. So it's not that big a difference, really. I mean, it is, but it's not. Now we add this. Now if I put the filter after it, yeah, we can still hear a difference. You can hear there's a little bit of pop being added in with this BF76. We can hear that kind of high frequency in there a little bit. It's a lot smoother with the filter after the BF76. Now let's turn on the Decapitator again. Hear that difference? If I take the filter off completely, this is what it sounds like with no filter at all. Then with the filter before the Decapitator, but after the compressor. Now, there's not much of a difference with it before after the BF76 as long as we have that Decapitator in there. Okay, so as you can tell, there is a difference where we put that filter in there, because the filter is really adjusting the sounds. Now, let's go back here and look at our notes. So we have our dry signal here, which is the synth. Then we go through effect 1, effect 2, and effect 3. And this is what we call a serial compression chain. Sorry, not compression, just a serial chain. My advice is to try different orders, change it up, experiment. This is where you're really going to start to learn how all this stuff works together. You're really going to get better at it by experimenting and trying new things out. If you just kind of find one way or listen to what I say and just kind of do it this way forever and ever and ever, you're not really going to get better at this stuff. You're really just going to kind of stagnate, and you might be pretty good, but you're not going to find things that are interesting and unique and very much your own thing. So my advice really is to try stuff out. You know, all the stuff that I'm talking about today, for the most part, is just kind of basic advice. And what we're going to try to do is teach you why this makes a difference. Like why does it make a difference when you have like a low cut before, after a distortion or a compression? I think that's really important. But you still need to try it out and see for yourself, because sometimes you may want to put the filter before, and maybe you want to put the filter after. None of these bass sounds that we're listening to right now sound bad. This sounds good. This sounds good. This also sounds good. They all sound good. It's really just a matter of what do you want to be listening to. And honestly, now that I'm listening to it like this and I'm trying this out like this, I think I want the filter before the Decapitator. Let's listen to that. Yeah. I like that filter before the Decapitator because I like the little bit of edge that the Decapitator gives it that we're not shaving off anymore with that filter. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is let's oops, not that. Oh. Cool. All right. So let's go over here and next page. So serial versus parallel chains. A serial chain is a row of effects, one right after the other. What we're looking at right now with this bass line, we got the synth, and then it goes into one effect, the next effect, the next effect. That's a serial chain. That's what most chains are going to be. Most of your effects chains are going to be like that. But then we also have a parallel effect chain, which is two rows of effects that are independent of each other. They do not affect each other. So if we take a look at this picture here, we have our dry signal, and then we have two independent effects chains here, like this. Now, it could be that we could have a serial effect chain and then run that into a parallel effect chain. It kind of depends on how you want to do this, but it's really up to you how you do this. Now, let me just show you how you would set up a parallel effect chain. Let's use this bass as an example here. And I'm going to put these all back up here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two, let's see, I'm going to make two different aux channels. Both of them are going to be stereo, although maybe I'm going to make them both mono actually. Delete these, make two mono aux channels. There we go. Whoops. We'll call this one bass effects 1, and this one will be bass effects 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we are going to say, all right, I'm going to move these over to, oh, I can't move it over. Dang it. All right, so one of them will be stereo, one of them will be mono. Because I just don't want to go through and have to redo all these. So effects chain number 1 will be stereo. Now you might be wondering, well, wait, why is that a thing? It's a thing because Pro Tools. That's it. It's a thing because of Pro Tools. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to say I want all these sounds to be on my bass sound as a whole. So I'm going to take this one here, this bass deep, and the output of bass deep, I'm going to send it into this bass effects number 1 here. So I'm going to go down here, I'm going to go to track, bass effects 1, boom, there we go. So now, it sounds exactly like it sounded before. There's no difference how I had it before or after. The only thing is now these are on a separate track. Now you might be saying, well, wait, hold on a second, Tony, how does that work? Well, the way it works is this. I've got, I had the effects here, right, like this, like that. I had the effects like this. Hear how that sounds? And it was just going straight out to my master output. Oh wait, what's going on here? Wait. Why was it going to the Mac Mini speakers? All right, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So I got that there, and then Pro Tools suddenly decided that it wasn't going to go to my UAD, but my UAD is plugged in. I'm running my headphones for whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. As long as y'all can hear me and y'all can hear what I'm doing, and since nobody's complained yet, I feel like you can. Okay, so right now I got this going to our monitor output left and right. Okay. Through these effects. But what I can do is I can take the audio signal and I can route it to go to this bass effects 1 track. So now the signal is going from here into here. And if I put the effects over here on this side here, we're going to get the same signal. It's just going through here. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because what I want to do is I want to take it and split it so I have one signal of effects here and another signal of effects right here. So I'm going to get that split going on, I'm going to go from my send here, and I'm going to go to my other track, which I'm going to have to do using, I'm going to force it to do bus number 2 here, so it's just a mono signal. And here I'm going to set the input to be bus number 2. And I'm going to go ahead and rename it while I'm sitting here. Right click, select rename, and we're going to call this one Bass Effects 2. Now the reason why Bass Effects 2 was not an option in my tracks is because Bass Effect number 2 is a mono signal, and number 1 was a stereo signal. So number 2 is a mono signal, and because this track is stereo, it wouldn't let me just find it over here. It was, you know, I have to force it to do it using a bus. So next, what we're going to do is go in here and this here. Now if I turn this one down, now we're listening to the original dry bass signal. So let's go ahead and affect that dry bass signal. First what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cut on it, an EQ cut. I'm also going to solo it so I can hear it better. Now let's put some distortion on this thing. Let's put some like serious distortion on here. And for this, we can use a plugin that comes with Pro Tools. And all these Avid plugins you see here, all these ones that say Avid in this Avid list, these are all ones that come with Pro Tools. Or at least they should be. Try Knob Fuzz. Cool. All right, so let's say that's the sound we want. We want this kind of like hard-hitting sound. Let's mix it with this one here. There we go. Cool. Now what we've got is a parallel chain going on here. So we've got this one over here, which is my original chain. It's the original sound of it. And then what I did was I put this fuzz sustain pedal on here, on this other side over here. Now let's listen to it, what happens if I put this EQ before or after the sound. Hear how different that sounds? That's a huge difference. And the reason why we have that difference is because whenever you have EQs and distortions, where you put that EQ, if you're cutting things out, especially if you're cutting out the low frequencies, makes a huge difference. And the reason why is because there's a lot of low-end information, especially in a bass sound like this. There's a lot of low-end information, and distortions, they're taking that low-end information and they're operating on the whole frequency spectrum of everything, right? So that low end is getting super distorted. So if I cut the low end out before it gets to the distortion, what it's going to do is that distortion, this distortion pedal here, is naturally going to be operating just on the mid-highs, but then it has like a certain amount of low end in its just natural sound. But if I put this here, if I put the EQ after the distortion, what we're doing is we're hitting that distortion with all the frequencies, but then we're cutting everything out. So it's really sucking everything out there. So, and then it's really up to you which one you like best. Do you like this one? Or do you like this one? Neither one of them is bad. They're just different. And it's not a matter of like making things bad or good in this case. It's really just a matter of personal choice. Which one do you like better? The puppy finally went to sleep, so on the break I'm gonna take her and stick her in her cage over there. Right, so that's what we're dealing with here. Which one do you like better? I kind of like this one better. It's just a little bit smoother sounding. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring these both back together again in another channel here. We'll make a stereo aux track. We'll call this one bass group. And I'm going to put this sidechain compressor here. And both of these two here are going to go to this bass group here. Track, bass group. Track, bass group. Boom. There we go. And that sounds a lot cooler than it did in the beginning. I think y'all will agree. And just hit me with like a high five or some kind of thing to show me that you're still there. Let me know that you're still there checking me out. Are we live? We're live. I think we're live. Am I not? Are you not seeing me? We should be live. All right, so there's that sound there. Now let's go add some nice blam. Oh, and smalls also. Oh, Swift, sorry. You came in a little bit late there. Smalls, a little bit late. All right, so the only people we're missing right now is Staffo and Johnny. So not sure where those two dudes are, but I'm gonna go ahead and make this bigger now so we can see the whole screen, because there we go. Blam. Awesome. Yeah, I don't need none of that happening. So that's the bass sound there. So that's, and now you might be saying like, wow, Tony, hold on a second. Really, do people do like this kind of stuff on for their sounds a lot? The answer is yeah. Unless you just want to use presets all day, in which case you're just going to have sounds that sound like everybody else's sounds, which is really lame. You're going to be putting effects on stuff. And this is, remember, in the very first class, I said, you're going to get to become best friends with your aux channels. Well, this is why, because if you really want to make your bass stand out, you're going to need to be, or not your bass, but your sounds stand out from the crowd. You're going to be having to use your aux channels to make them stand out from the crowd. So that's, I'm going to change all these to red because these are all my basses. Boom. And all these drums as well. Let me go ahead and just make all the drums orangey color. Yeah, I'm going to use that color there. Kind of this mustard color. All right, now let's go over here and let's mess around with this kick drum here a little bit. I don't need my inserts F through J to be showing anymore. The inserts F through J, this stuff here is essentially just like your tracks. If you have an effect on it, even if you're not looking at it, you can still hear that effect. Cool. Now, one last thing actually before we go mess with our kick drum here. This bass sound, you noticed what I did was I split the signal into two separate signals, a parallel chain. This parallel chain here like this. And what I did was, this what I have in the notes here is a little bit different. It's more like what I have in this one here. Well, this is one way to do it. It's a slightly different how I just actually ran it straight from here into here. But you can also do it like this. There's so many different ways to do these things that you can really spend a lot of time thinking about it. But essentially, just make sure you've got one set of effects, one set of effects. And this is what we've got going on here. I've got the dry signals over here, and I got it going into one aux channel, which is one set of effects, and another aux channel, which is another set of effects. And this is a parallel chain. Then we've got it subgrouped into here. And the subgroup here is just so we can pull everything back together. So now if I want this bass sound to be louder or softer, I can just turn this down and my bass is gone. What we're doing is we're mixing the sound of the bass as a whole. So what we're doing with this one over here is we're tailoring the sound of the bass. So if I want my bass to sound like that, it would sound like that. I can sound like this. I can add less of this, more of this. Right? So I got that there. I can adjust the sound of my bass, like the tone, I should say. And now I can go over here and I can just adjust the overall level. To mute my, to bypass my effects, I hold down Command and I click on the effect and it bypasses the effects. Now let's get this kick drum going on. Hey, whoops. Let's see. Okay, this kick drum is like super boring sounding. So let's make this kick drum a little bit more interesting. And yeah, you want to know the secret weapon? You literally, just to make this kick drum more interesting, all you do is you just go over here and you put Decapitator, wherever that is. Where are you, Decapitator? Sound Toys, here you are. Just put Decapitator on it and it's like instant awesome. Let me just mute this one here. So there's my kick drum, sounds like meh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Now this one here sounds cool, maybe a little bit too loud for that mix. That gives it some instant fatness. I mean, the preset is called drum fattener, and that's what I do with this stuff. Is I'll usually just like take it and I'll just like be like, let's put drum fattener on it, and just good to go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this boom, this kick drum, and we're gonna group this two kick drums together. So let's go ahead and just listen to this one first. There we go. Now this kick drum sounds, it's like an 808 type of sound. It's a little bit longer. First thing is though, the pitch is like way off. So I'm gonna go ahead and tune it. There we go. Right, so if I didn't, oh man, okay, I guess I can't undo the tuning. The tuning was here, right? If I hear how off that sounds, horrible. So what we want to do is tune this up. There we go. Cool. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shorten it. We don't want it to be that long. There we go. Now, this kick drum here, I don't want it to have a lot of high end. Actually, I'm going to use a filter. And the filter I'm going to use, I want to show you a cool filter here that's some Universal Audio, multi-mono. Can I put boom on a mono channel? Hold on a second, let's see. Let's see. Mono instrument. Oh yeah, boom can be mono. Okay, cool. I should have just made all these mono. All right, so now this fat 8. We're gonna go ahead and tune it up so it's basically the same. There we go. Just this little bit. All right, cool. I just made it mono just to kind of deal with, so we're not using up as much CPU power. All right, there we go. Get rid of this one. Let's put that up. I can't do that. So one thing you'll learn real quick is that Pro Tools doesn't allow you to move mono and stereo effects onto different tracks, which is kind of annoying. Oh, Swift, I'm sorry you're having so much troubles with your stuff today. But just so you know, I can't tell if you drop in, drop out. So for better or for worse. All right, so here's my bass drum 1. There we go. I'm gonna put a filter on this. We're gonna use the UAD plugins, and we're gonna use the Mono Moog plugin. Moog Multi-Filter. There we go. So now what we're going to do with this one here is we're going to, there we go, take this. Actually, no, that's not what we're going to do. Take this one. There we go. We can like just increase this drive. Yeah, I agree, Charlie, that it's really annoying. Let's see what it sounds like if we just like overdo it. Huh. Turn the output down. There we go. Now I got a little weight to our kick drum there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and get this mono aux channel. And we'll call this one bass drum group. It is totally a thumper, yep. And these two here, both of these, I'm going to just send them over here to this mono file. This mono bus, mega mono bus, boom, and we're gonna rename this bus 3 and put here, rename it, right click, rename, bass drum group. Now you might be noticing that I always name my sends anywhere in here. If I'm sending, like all my buses are always named for the track that they're going to, the destination track. And the reason why I do that is to make it so that so I know exactly where it's going. It's like an organization thing. You don't have to do that, but it's good for organizational stuff. My drum group is down here on the bottom. There we go. There we go. Now I can control my kick drum. There we go. All right, now let's see what it sounds like with everything. Now, if we have this one here, get this on kick. K for kick. Okay. Let's do this here. All right. So there's what my kick drum sounds like without the low end. Move this over here to this. There we go. There we go. And we really want more of this high end here. With this kind of setup here, we probably don't need much of that low end in it. I just kind of. But if we ever wanted to do this, you know, you could maybe not have it going in the entire song, but just have it cut through to a part where it's just like these two things playing. Pull this level up here. Because when we have the low end of the bass in there, we don't really need that low end of the thumpy kick drum. I just wanted to kind of show you how we could do this kind of stuff here. And then maybe a little bit of a compression. I'm not going to put any compression on. I think it sounds good without any kind of compression. Yeah, super thumper. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to get all these drums together, and let's run the drums into a parallel compression. Now, this is a pretty standard thing to do. I don't know if people do it so much these days with electronic drums. I know some people who do it. But essentially, it's like this. Set up a... Oh, my dog is dreaming. Go back to sleep. All right. So we'll call this one drum parallel. Or I'll just call it drum comp. I know it's parallel. And we don't need it to be stereo, actually. We'll leave it mono. I'm gonna hit create. Oh, we do want it to be an aux input though. Drum comp. Okay, so now what we got is this one here, and like I said, I just made it mono because it doesn't need to be stereo really. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send my drums over here. So now I'll put bus 4, and the reason why I'm using bus 4 is so it's mono input here, boom. I'm gonna put this up to 0 here. I'm gonna hit pre on here because I don't want my level of this one to be affecting the level of my compression. I want a lot of compression to go on here. Now we've already got this over the top. Let's just hear this without the over the top thing. Whoa, what is? Oh, it's because you're. There we go. There's my. Oops. Yeah, let's hold on a second. Get my drums all going here. Bass drum, this drum reverb. Boop, boop, boop. Don't need you in the group. Take you out. Okay. Make a group called drums. Not all capitals. ID, D, boom, go. Okay, so now, there we go, cool. Okay, there's my drums. Now what we're gonna do is, we're gonna call this one here drum, instead of drum, well, drum, that's fine, yeah. We're gonna go ahead and put some really extreme plugins on here. And let's go with, I mean, I've already got this over the top thing going on, but so let's hear without the over the top. Cool. All right, you can hear it's giving a little bit more pop to it. But let's like make it way more pop. Let's go ahead and use a compressor for this. And just use the one that comes with Pro Tools. Dyne 3. Let's rename this while I'm thinking about it. There we go. All right, what I'm gonna do here, turn this up, turn this attack way up, turn the ratio way up, release down, cool. Now what we're listening for here is the beginnings of things. And we want that pop on the snare and the kick. And you can hear we're getting that pop on the snare and the kick, but it's not, it doesn't sound good. But we're a lot of pop. So now what we're gonna do is turn this down. There's our original sound right there, nice and stereo. And let's go ahead and bring this up. Awesome. And I don't want any of that low end in here to pollute it. I just want the low end from the one side. Let's solo this one out real quick. What it sounds like when we put that like that. There we go. Cool. And you hear how that like adds like a little bit of knock on the beginning of each drum. Now, we're pushing our output here a lot. So we're gonna make a new aux channel. We're gonna drum group, I don't know. Drum all. And these two here, send them over here to this one here. Now I can control that level. Turn the hi-hats down a little bit. Oh, there you go. Turn the hi-hats down a little bit. And what we need to do here is balance this with the bass, because we're pushing our output too much here now. Turn my overall output out up a little bit. There we go. Make some adjustments. So I probably wouldn't put this compression on there, and also I'm not a huge fan of this one here. This compressor here, I always do this type of stuff with, let me show you a different one. I always do this type of stuff with the SSL compressor. I'm not sure that I have enough power in here to use the SSL. Oh, I can use a legacy. Here, let's use this here. And I actually use the glue compressor in Ableton Live. Dynamics, SSL. This is the one I always use here. Come on, where are you? There you are, SSL Legacy Bus Compressor here, mono. Let's go back and show this here. Set that release real fast. Set the attack slow. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I probably, in this case, I probably wouldn't actually use this one. There's just a lot going on. Maybe if I bring it. Yeah, a little bit. It's also hard to hear in my headphones what it's sounding like. Cool. All right. Nice. Cool. All right, let's do this. I want to put Puppy in her cage, and I think it's good to take a little bit of a break real quick.